Today, it's tater tots two ways, and I'm going to show you how to make the crispiest tater tots in the oven, no oil needed. Would you believe that Sean and I have not ordered takeout for 3 months? It's actually not been that hard because we have a freezer full of dumplings and frozen tater tots. We've been relying on some convenience foods so that we're not tempted to order takeout. When we're feeling a little bit lazy, we can use those easy to cook foods to kind of have a quick meal without picking up the phone. Actually, do people pick up the phone? I guess they do, but they pick up the phone this way. Anyway, and I'm not gonna lie, the best, most crispiest frozen tater tots come when you deep fry them. But deep frying is really messy. It uses a lot of oil. It's not very easy. The easiest way is to put these tots on a pan, put them in the oven, and just wait a little while. But I found a couple of tricks to make sure that these tots in the oven are just about as crispy as if you deep fry them. And it's just like 2 little tricks. So the first trick is jack your oven heat up super high. Ignore whatever the package instructions say. I found that tater tot packages vary depending upon brand on how hot and how long you should cook your tater tots. But what I found is if you get your oven up to 450 degrees and you cook these babies for at least 25 minutes, you will end up with a super almost fried crispy tater tot. Now, I do this a lot with other foods. I call it oven frying. I'm sure other people call it oven frying. I didn't make that up. But the idea is that you can get really crispy food if you heat your food up hot enough in the oven. In fact, that's what those little counter air fryers do. They're just cooking really hot with the addition of convection, that sort of air that's spinning around inside, kind of like Las Vegas in August during a windstorm. But you don't need to buy an extra appliance. I know lots of people love their air fryers, but you don't need one. Just jack that heat up on the oven and wait a little while, and you will get super crispy food. I have an awesome eggplant recipe that does this, which I will link up there, and also a pork schnitzel recipe that I oven fry on my blog, and I will link that below. So let's get these tots in the oven. We're gonna do about half of this bag for our tater tots two ways. And I will talk about those ways in a minute. So the other thing you have to remember here is to just make sure there's a lot of room between your tots. So like if you're doing a whole bag, maybe you want to do 2 sheet pans. But the idea, now you don't have to be perfect about it, but the idea is to give the tots enough room so that the air can circulate. Just like the air fryer and the convection, the air in your oven is going to circulate around your tots, and you want to give all of those tots an equal chance at that really high heat. So that looks good. I'm going to put a couple more on here. All right, so I'm going to get these in the oven, and then we're going to start our first tater tot dish. Okay, tots are in the oven. I set the timer for 15 minutes because we are going to give them a flip partway through cooking. And now we're going to get on with our first tater tot dish. And that is going to be my tater tot poutine. If you don't know, poutine is a French-Canadian dish. It's basically usually French fries, gravy, and cheese curds, but I love them with tater tots. And we're going to make a mushroom gravy for our poutine. So to get started, I need some olive oil. I'm going to put about a tablespoon of olive oil in here. And I have some mushrooms. And I'm just going to pour these in. Now, mushrooms are filled with a lot of water, and we want to get some color on these mushrooms. So it's going to take a little bit of time to cook these down. I have them kind of on a medium heat, and just going to let them go for a while. So while these mushrooms are going, let's cut to the second way to use some tater tots. It's a breakfast treat. Okay, so our mushrooms are nice and brown. They've cooked down to about half of their original volume. So we're going to start adding a little more flavor to our gravy. So we're going to I have one shallot, which is about half a cup. You could use onion too here if you'd like. Shallots are one of my favorite ingredients. And we are going to cook those shallots for about 2 to 3 minutes until they sort of get soft and start to look translucent. And if your pan looks a little dry, you could add a little more oil. Those mushrooms do soak up a bit of oil. So we're just going to, I don't know, maybe a teaspoon more just to get those shallots going. Give that a stir. And I'm going to turn my heat down a little bit. I don't want these to necessarily saute. I just want them to sweat, let some of their juices out, some of their flavor out. And also to that effect, I'll add a little bit of salt here, which also helps bring out some of the moisture in the shallots. So we got about 2 to 3 minutes here until our next ingredient. Now, while we're waiting for these to cook down, I'm actually going to go flip my tots. They've been in there for a little over 10 minutes. So while we have that moment, let's go ahead and do that flip. And we're not going to be perfect here. We just want to, allow all the edges to get a little bit of browning. So I'm not going to go one by one, but just generally flip over sections of your tots. We're going to space them out again to give them their room for all of that hot air. We'll get these back in the oven for another 13 minutes or so. Okay, so our shallots are cooked down. They're looking translucent and softened. So we're going to go with our next ingredients. So the next ingredient is a garlic clove, which I like to use my microplane grater to just grate really finely in. I use this microplane a ton for garlic. It's just really easy, and you get a nice tiny grate on it. And then we're going to add some thyme leaves. We're just going to cook this for about 30 seconds just to take the harsh bite off of that garlic, but we do not want to burn it. This smells so delicious already. Obviously, garlic's always going to do the trick. All right. So now we're going to start our gravy, which a gravy is really just a liquid in a roux, and a roux is fat and flour cooked together. So we're going to take some butter, and we're going to get that all melted in our pan. And once that butter is almost cooked, we're going to add flour in equal. So that was about 2 tablespoons of butter. We're going to do about 2 tablespoons of flour. And we're going to cook this together, and it's going to come like a paste. It'll look beige. And we're just going to cook this for no longer than a minute. And that is to just give the flour a moment to cook so you don't have a taste of raw flour. This is a blonde roux that we're making, so it really doesn't need to take on any color. You're just really wanting to get rid of that flour taste. All right. And now we're going to add we actually have beef broth today, and this is better than bouillon. I'm not going to add any salt until the end, aside from whenever we put in with the shallots, because better than bouillon already has a little bit of seasoning in it, so I don't want to get this too salty. So we're going to just stir this in and get all that goodness, and just make sure this is well incorporated. I probably should have a whisk, but we'll see how this goes. I don't think I'll get any lumps. Famous last words, right? And then this is looking good. We're going to add about a teaspoon of soy sauce. That will bump up the umami a bit and add more seasoning again. So that's why we don't want any extra salt at the moment until we can taste the finished product. And we have some sherry vinegar, which I love, about half a tablespoon of that. If you don't have sherry vinegar, you could use balsamic or apple cider vinegar. I just find that like sherry vinegar and like wine type vinegars go well with mushrooms. So I use that, but use what you got. I recently learned through some of my food media that a lot of the times when people are reaching for salt, they really should be reaching for an acid. We don't think about acid as much when we're cooking. So I've been really trying to incorporate acid a little bit more into my cooking, in addition to salt. And you know what? It's been really paying off. Just like a little spritz of lemon or vinegar at the end of cooking adds just a really nice zing to your dish without needing to add extra salt. It balances everything out. And especially since this is a very earthy dish with all these mushrooms and that thyme and sort of the beef stock, that acid's really going to help balance those earthy flavors out. And as you can see, this is already getting nice and thick, which is what we're looking for. And we have about 6 minutes left on our tots, maybe. We're going to take them out and see, because you might need a little bit more time. You can't be tied to the time on the recipe. Sometimes you just have to take a look and see if it is done by your eyes and your palate. So I'm just going to turn this off, and we're going to wait for the tots to be done, and we will finish off our poutine. Our tots are done, or I think they're done. We'll see if they need another couple minutes. They look pretty crispy though. All right, let's take a look. Oh yeah, those are perfect. So you can, I don't know if you can hear how crispy those are. But they're nice and golden browned and crispy. Let's see if I can taste one and not burn my face off. So I don't know if you can hear. It's pretty crispy, but it is very hot. All right, so let's build our poutine. So I really like a nice shallow bowl for this. It'll fit a nice layer of tots and allow for like all the tots to get a little bit of gravy action going. All right, that should be good. Let's swap out the gravy. And actually, before we put the gravy on, let's give our gravy a final taste. It's super mushroomy. It's got that nice shallot flavor, which I love. It's got that brightness from that cherry vinegar. Does not need more salt, but I do think it needs more pepper. And I have my new pepper grinder, which watch out for the review because I'm in the middle of product testing this. So we're going to add a little bit of that. Give it a stir. See how easy it was to make that gravy? Like, you could make this poutine in no time. Very good. Okay. So we're going to, I mean, this is very easy. We're just gonna ladle some gravy on. Mm, this is such delicious kind of comfort food, a little bit junk foody, but made from ingredients I had in my fridge. It's super delicious. And what I like about the tater tots in this poutine recipe is that you get some good gravy contact, a little soaking in with one side of the tater tot, but the other side's crunchy. So you end up with this nice sort of ooey gooey gravy soft experience plus the crunch of the super crispy tater tots. So this is definitely a winner. This is like a good Friday night movie and poutine with some beer recipe. So I hope you like this recipe. I hope you learned how to make really crispy tots by oven frying them. Give this a try. And if you liked this video, please give me a thumbs up. Click subscribe and that little bell button to be alerted when I launch a new video. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Now go have some fun in the kitchen and whip up a batch of poutine.